Hello and welcome to Boomer 11 podcast. And today we're going to be talking about something very exciting that's happening in European football. That is the European Super League. And as you've rightly heard it, it is a European Super League. Everything is supposed to be super, the rivalries, the matches, and also the money that's going to come out of it. I have with me Abel. Abel, how excited are you to see Man City play in European Super League? Oh, wait, I think they're not playing though.
Yeah. So either ways, there was a big judgment, right, from the European Court as to how European Super League is going to be formed and what's the future of this particular league. I remember we already did an episode on European Super League. If you remember, there's episode number
Yeah.
two, and when we last did the episode, that particular league was almost on the verge of being scrambled out. But now, once again, it's back to life as the judgment is in favor of European Super League. We'll talk about the judgment very shortly, but this may change football forever if this comes into effect. The now initial statements from clubs do suggest that they are not very keen to take part in European Super League, but that is just the initial statements, as I
Yeah.
mentioned. Things can change very drastically, very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to say, that in European Super League, as of now, the UEFA president has given the go ahead to the European Super League. He is definitely anticipating that two clubs, Real Madrid and Barcelona, will play, and that will be the end of it. Is it now going to be the new name for El Clasico, European Super League?
See, even Napoli has agreed to it. There are certain teams who will still come out and say. So a lot of majority of the big names have rejected, obviously from the Premier League. That is, that also couple of them from Premier League. That is, Manchester City and United have rejected it. There are still a lot of clubs from Premier League who really want that sort of money at this point to really establish that profit making part of it. And you'd say European Super League is somewhat like a Champions League. It could be a replacement for Champions League, to say the least. It is not technically a league which is going to, be a byproduct for the home league or the domestic league, but it is a replacement for Champions League, is what I'm supposing. Or else, this could be a league which could run parallelly alongside Champions Leagues and your La Ligas and other cup competitions. So as of now, I don't see any league or any competition being scrapped, and you cannot impose sanctions as well. So, which means the ball is in the court of the teams at this point, whereas you cannot ban a team or you cannot stop a team. That's why I think we'll look at the judgment shortly as we talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that for sure, because you have to say that while we will go get into the judgment, let's talk about the one aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, they've come up with a new league format. Before, the
Yeah.
idea was to completely, have a breakaway league. Now the idea is to make it coexisting, so that UEFA and FIFA don't create problems for the other clubs. They are suggesting midweek matches, and they're suggesting three leagues, where you're gonna have basically relegation and promotion, which is
Yeah.
something that other teams were worried about. That there's gonna be the original, I think, eight permanent members, which has been scrapped. The idea is to go for member owned, or rather team owned leagues. Now, interestingly enough, one point that really might, they have also tried to bring the fans into it by saying that it's going to be free to watch all the matches. So, the 8288 Sport, as it's known, that is basically a company set up by Real Madrid and Barcelona. The only thing they've ever agreed in their history of footballing rivalry, they are trying their best to sell it to everyone,
Yeah.
including the fans.
Absolutely. Now, if you look at this judgment as well, now what does this really say? Now, we'll start off by talking about that, and the company aspect comes into the picture later because that's the company which is going to give them far more extent of media share and media share revenue, which will be massive, 100 million bonus for the clubs who are joining in the top tier league. There's no permanent members as well. We'll talk about that, but before that, let's understand what the judgment is. By prior to this, FIFA and UEFA were imposing sanctions on the teams who were part of the breakaway league, which is European Super League. So the the standpoint of UEFA and FIFA and the domestic leagues were that if you're going to break away into a different league, then you will be banned from playing in this particular domestic league. Now, what the European Court of Justice have come out and said that now in the appeal where they've ruled in favor of European Super League by saying that neither FIFA nor UEFA can hold a monopoly kind of a competition where they cannot say that if you are playing in Champions League, you cannot play in any other competition, or if you're playing in the La Liga or Premier League, you cannot play in any other competition. Now, that's one aspect of this judgment. But when we talk about competition law as such, right now, a lot of people who are not aware of competition law, it's about when there are a lot of players in the market, you cannot be that particular monopoly in the market where you will make the rules and you will impose sanctions and you will completely control the market. Now, that is what a monopoly is. A lot of people might be aware of what a monopoly is. And competition law definitely is. Your competition law in UK or in Europe really strikes against such monopoly in the market. Now, if you look, the revenue generation is with UEFA at this point. UEFA generates all the revenues, whatever, whenever these clubs play in it, and UEFA earns solely through it, right? The media rights, or let it be the copyrights, image rights, the competition rights of playing out a particular competition, tagged with your UEFA and calling it the most supreme competition of Europe. So they had monopoly status for that particular thing, right? What the particular thing is, when it comes to football in Europe, it was UEFA who was a sole regulator. UEFA had the last say when it comes to which is the most supreme competition in Europe, and so on and so forth. But now what this has done is not just really opened up ways. They have come out very heavily on UEFA and FIFA by saying that you cannot be a sole regulator when it comes to making such rules. Though you can be a regulatory body for football, but you cannot say your cup competition is the sole cup competition. Any other competition will be invalidated. That is not fair because they're not doing anything illegal. There's no match fixing or there's no betting in their own games as such. It's a breakaway league as such. So they've given a go ahead with this judgment which has come out from European Court that you can conduct a league and you can call it whatever you want it to, and ultimately the point is the game should be promoted. Now that's what the court stands at, and that certainly means that European Super League is a green light. Now the next part of it is who are ready for the European Super League, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about what you said. Basically, what the court held is that you cannot make the rules so that you can earn the most. And as you rightly mentioned, Abel, UEFA earns 75 percentage of the total revenue generated by UEFA Champions League, and the rest of the 25 percentage goes to the clubs, and it's equally, not equally, but depending on this merit, it's distributed amongst teams. They cannot earn more than 30 million. I mean, or rather, they cannot earn more than 530 million as every season. That is the basic rule. So if you do the best, then you earn at that cap. Now, another very important. So the thing is, you cannot create a situation in the market where only you're earning and the others are not allowed to earn. That is the whole point of it. Now, interestingly enough, this is not where the buck ends. As you rightly mentioned, Abel, this is not where it ends. Now, only thing that is allowed is that European Super League is legally allowed to exist. Now, the next question is, are the clubs allowed to join or not? One very important point, and this is something that is shared everywhere, but let's look at Premier League, where most of the clubs, they'll be hoping the Premier League clubs come in. Now, Premier League has got something called the Owners Charter. Owners Charter says that you cannot join any other breakaway league other than the ones organized by FA and the Premier League. Now,
Yeah.
interestingly, here this cannot be brought under the competition law either, because now the Premier League is a company of its own. It is a registered company in the UK, and they have shareholders, and the shareholders are all the 18 teams that play in the Premier League. So every year there's an AGM, which is a general meeting where the board members of each club comes in, and the ones who are relegated hand over their share to the ones who are promoted. And the same goes for all the other leagues, be it the Championship, be it the EFL, be it any other tier professional FA, English FA clubs. Now these clubs cannot move away and play in the European Super League without having sanctions applied to them by the Premier League itself. And because Premier League is not owned by the English FA, competition law will not come in place.
Absolutely. You're spot on in saying that because Premier League is a company of its own and these are rules of a particular company, that's where the competition law cannot come into existence as well because they don't operate as a so far as a regulator, which English FA is. It's not English FA rules. This is
Yeah.
just Premier League rules, and due to which they can get debarred out of Premier League. Now, let's look at some of the stance of the teams, because if you look at the Premier League teams who have come out saying that, it is Manchester United. They are one of the most respected clubs in the UK, the most successful clubs in European football history. So obviously they have come out stating this, that we remain committed to participating in UEFA competitions, the positive cooperation with UEFA, the Premier League, and the fellow clubs, though ECA, on the continued development of this competition. They will keep a monitor on this. And let's look at what Manchester City has come out stating, that Manchester City has said that our position has not changed from what we have released in 2021. We remain committed to working with fellow clubs, though through the ECA, and to participation with the UEFA competitions. Now, it's very clear that these clubs, the two major clubs in from England right now, have come out stating this, and that's going to have a far greater impact on other clubs as well, because two of your premier clubs have come out stating this, that they don't want to be part of this competition. As you mentioned, Premier League rules are one aspect of things, but I expected Manchester City, who are slightly more in they are a team who are slightly not going well when it comes to legalities. When it comes to Premier League, there's a case ongoing for them. They had a case with UEFA. They were more susceptible, they were more likely to go out for a breakaway league, but they also denied it. So, which certainly means that they are very clear with their position, that it doesn't matter, that we are going to remain playing the UEFA competitions, and we do give that importance. It's not just about the money, right? I mean, these clubs can make a lot, especially Man City. They do not have any dearth of money. Now, if you look at United as well, uh, they could have really jumped on for the money, but if you look at the owners and the way they've been going about in the recent past, they are a listed company as well, Manchester United. So they could have possibly gone for the money, but they've also decided not to, and that's considering the fan sentiments, because at this point, fans are already against the owners. If they jump into this particular thing, owners are going to be targeted even more by the fans, because fans already had their notion moment this judgment came out. Now, if you look other parts of Europe, Bayern Munich has been very clear. If you look at German football, it's never going to happen. I don't think any German club will come out saying that, because you have the 50+1 rule uh, everywhere in
Yeah.
Germany, and
They're
the fans
socially
are the
owned
ones
clubs.
who make the
Absolutely.
yeah, fans are the ones who make the decisions there,
Yeah.
where
I
they
mean,
had the share in the club.
you're absolutely spot on there. The German clubs are socially owned clubs, as they are called, because they're owned 50% by the fans, or rather 51% by the fans, and 49% by outside foreign
Yeah,
investment. Now, another very important thing you're able to is Premier League clubs. I don't expect a lot. Expect a lot more. Compilation with the UEFA rules. Interestingly enough, it's the other leagues that will be focusing on it.
yeah,
The reason for European Super League is because the other clubs feel that only Premier League. No, Premier League is a very successful league over the world. All over the world, people watch Premier League a lot more. It has gotten more eyeballs outside UK. Same is not the case with the Spanish league, La Liga, or Bundesliga, or Liga. These clubs have suffered because of broadcasting rights, and that is the reason why the European Super League came up. I mean, who brought this up was Barcelona and Real Madrid. So now, interestingly enough, no, you already mentioned Napoli, who's probably a lot more inclined towards this. These clubs feel like they are not getting their dues worth because of UEFA. And another very important thing that I've brought up is that regardless of how well you do in UEFA or the Champions League, you might not end up in the Champions League next year, which is something that has really led to the formation of European Super League.
absolutely. I think the new European Super League format, as discussed, will not be having that permanent member status as well, which is good in my opinion, because that was
Yeah.
an issue which a lot of people had, right? When it comes to that particular factor, that there's no relegation, and it's a one-sided competition where the teams who get the largest share remains in the top tier and they won't be relegated. But the new format and the new possible way in which is discussed, there's no official announcement yet, but as of now, what we can understand is that this will remain like any other league. There's going to be relegation. There's going to be there's going to be promotion as well. So, which is pretty decent in my opinion. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see from a European football competition as such. That does not really take away the the nuance of football, because when we talk about the real worth of football, it lies in that relegation promotion. Everybody is treated equally. There is no permanent status. So this was one of the reasons why you felt that the big teams were getting that extra added advantage. But that's going to be taken away, obviously. Now we talk about the television rights, as you mentioned. It's a big deal which is coming in.
Yeah.
Obviously, the television rights deal is most of the clubs are going to get 100 million share out of the television rights, and a team like Barcelona at this point who are financially struggling would take it as a gold mine kind of a deal. They'd want this deal at any cost, and that's going to really help them secure financially, and that's going to help them to a far larger extent. So. I think that's one of the reasons why Barcelona have jumped into this, and Real Madrid are the founding father of this particular league. Florentino Perez has his own ambitions. He is bigger than UEFA. He feels it's mentioned that Real Madrid is bigger than UEFA. So he believes that Real Madrid has already done that and wants UEFA competition. So it's time that they have their own structural competition. He wants to set a legacy for himself. Good amount of money, obviously. The club is going to get a lot of money through brands and endorsement and TV rights deal. And on top of that, the teams who play the top tier league, which is known as the Blue League, I believe, are going to be. I don't know. It's called the Star League, right? The
I
Star
think
League.
it's a gold
Star
league, the gold league, the Star League, the gold league, and the blue league. Yeah.
Yeah. So the whoever is going to play the Star League, they are going to be obviously getting paid a lot more than the ones who are going to be playing the Gold or the Blue League. So that's how it is going to be. But let's see how many teams snap into it. As of now, it's still early days. It's just few hours since judgment has come, and I think that's about it from what we can cover here as well.
Absolutely. I think just the only at this point in time, I think the only reason why this the UEFA, I mean, the European Super League is coming out is because teams feel that all these teams are part of leagues where they own the share, or they even La Liga, for instance, is a very Premier League like kind of model, and they feel that similar things should be done in UEFA as well, in the Champions League as well, and that is the only reason I see this league coming out. But at the same time, I just feel because of their domestic obligations, a lot of clubs will be skeptical of joining. But as you rightly mentioned, that's pretty much it from us as of now. As we'll again reiterate, European Super League is legal, but that does not mean that it will culminate. There's still a long way to go before it happens. It's not going to happen next year. It might not even happen 2 years. Maybe at least 4 to 5 years is what I can say from the looks of it. It's going to take a while to convince everyone that this is best for them if they are able to agree at all. But that's pretty much it from us. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Boomer Podcast. We'll be back again with such interesting topics as the world of sports keeps evolving. But at the same time, make sure you check out the Boomer 11 app on Apple App Store and Google Play Store, because remember, guys, it is pretty much like a European Super League out there where everything is yours and we don't take anything from you. We are not like UEFA.
Bye bye.